Thank you, Chairwoman. First of all, my presentation will touch the issues of open source intelligence sharing of the economical development of the occupied territories in Ukraine and in Georgia, the similarities and the interconnection between them. The Russian Federation is trying to build a system for financing and economical management of the occupied and annexed territories using minimum budgetary subsidies from the Russian state budget. Such model is focused on being self-sustainable, being capable of overcoming sections restrictions, and on maximum interconnection between entities. Russia annually allocates billions of rubles for the development of the occupied territories in Georgia and Ukraine. Despite occupied territories of Georgia, territories of Ukraine are not directly funded from the budget of Russian Federation. A different level of support and interaction with the Kremlin allows Russian and local entities to create a unique system of trade, economic and financial cooperation. Today, the trade and economic relations between the territories occupied by Russia in Ukraine and Georgia are at the stage of building. So we can see the development of future schemes to bypass international law. The priority of such work is directly proportional to an increase of external economic pressure on the Russian regime, which reduces the potential of financial and economic support by the Kremlin of occupied territories. The Lugansk People Republic more actively communicates with Abkhazia and the Donetsk People Republic with South Ossetia. Considering their limited economical capabilities, the unrecognized republics are interested in market interpenetration. However, a different range of goods and limited financial capability hamper trade integration and create significant difficulties for its practical implementation. Such conditions are the most favorable for exporters of raw materials, but not products with high value added. We can emphasize several trends in economic activity of Russia-controlled unrecognized states. First of all, trade in raw materials and consumer products. Second one, trade in coal and manufactured products. According to available information, late January 2018, in Lugansk, companies of Abkhazia and Turkey concluded agreements on the supply of coal mined in Lugansk People Republic to Turkey via the port of Ochamchira, situated in occupied Abkhazia. At the stage, substitution of local coal by Donbas products is beneficial for Abkhazian and Turkish companies, considering the depletion of deposits in Khuchkhala. At the same time, Russia is still a traditional route for the delivery of Donbas coal to the occupied Crimea. According to estimates of the ex-leader of LPR, Igor Plotnitsky, during 2017-2019, these unrecognized states to supply the Crimea about 3.5 million tons of coal. Third, an attempt to cooperate in the financial sector. Fourth, an attempt to mutual investment in the economy, and we saw the creation of Lugansk Abkhazian Investment Company. Among the main areas, investments in Abkhazia in livestock and grain production sector is being considered. Since March 1st, 2017, the occupation authorities of the Donetsk People's Republic introduced external management at 43 enterprises within the Ukrainian jurisdiction in the territory that beyond the control of Ukraine. The DPR and LPR enterprises managed extremely are controlled by the closed joint stock company of Neshtok Service, which is registered in Tіньова, South Ossetia. The company is associated with Sergei Kurchenko, who previously acted as the manager of the Yanukovych family's business. The formal head of Neshtok Service is the former vice governor of the Irkutsk region, Vladimir Pashkov. Neshtok Service activities are controlled by the Interdepartmental Commission for the Humanitarian Assistance of Affected Territories of the Southeastern regions of the Donetsk and Lugansk region of Ukraine, established by Russia in December 2014. Analysis of the economic management structure in the occupied territories of Ukraine and Georgia shows that the main decision-making center situated in the administration of the President of Russia Federation. A more complex structure for the management of the occupied territories of Ukraine can be explained by the large number of people, industries, the territory, and also their hostilities. Comparison of economic supervisors of the occupied territories of Ukraine and Georgia at the same strategic level shows that in both cases the managers are former officials of Russia Federation who have experience in managing the administrative territorial units of the Russia Federation. In Ukraine, it is Irkutsk Vice-Governor Vladimir Pashkov, and in Georgia, it is the ex-governor of Nenets Autonomous District, Igor Koshin. Russia requires to structure financial settlement for effective bank payments in circumvention of international sanctions and creating trade and economic relations with access to foreign markets. The creation of an effective banking system that could operate both inside and outside the occupied territories have been considered in the self-proclaimed states in the territory of Ukraine since 2014. As a solution, active cooperation with unrecognized states and territory of Georgia is being worked out. During this period, according to our information, the elite of occupied territories of Ukraine held informal negotiation with Abkhazian banks. However, global assessment were not reached due to the rather cool attitude to such relations on the part of Abkhazian side. In June 2016, the chairman of the Central Republic's Bank of DPR, Irina Nikitina, stated that the government of the unrecognized state, as well as states and other unrecognized entities, were negotiating the opening of their banks. However, so far, cooperating in financial sector is at the stage of pilot projects and optimization of systems. As you can see, the schemes allows to effect the transaction not only between the occupied territories and the Russian Federation, but also between the whole system of Russian satellites, including friendly regimes in Latin America, Far and Middle East. This makes it possible to create its own network to shadowy settlements that are hard to trace and opens up opportunities including illegal or gray transactions. Thus, since 2015, there has been increased activity in the sphere of establishing financial institutions in the territory of South Ossetia for these purposes. All three financial institutions in this unrecognized republic were established in 2015. The lack of activity in the development of South Ossetian banking institutions during 2008 till 2014 indirectly evidences that before the war in Donbass, there was no need for a network of banking institutions in this unrecognized republic. Such a need could arise in connection with expansion of the occupied territories under Russian rule. However, characteristic of Abkhazian financial institutions allow to conclude that opening of a branch of DPR is a consequence of attempts to organize the flow of funds intended to support the activities of unrecognized republics. As you can see on satellite images, here is a high activity in the coal terminal on the port of Achimchira in occupied Abkhazia. According to Abkhazian sources, coal deposits near Tvarcheli are highly depleted and there are almost no substantial mining operation carried out. Thus, the terminal in Ochimchira cannot be loaded by local coal in such volumes. In addition, on July 11, 2015, a photo was published taken in Sukhumi railway station. It depicts a train with a cargo of coal loaded into Russian freight cars. The origin of the cars excludes the possibility that coal was mined in Abkhazian deposits. Thus, the photo shows coal passing through Sukhumi towards Achimchira. In Uchimchira and Rostov-on-Don, coal gets Russian accompanying documents and exported abroad as Russia's origin. The final recipients of Donbass anthracite, a type of coal, included such companies as Italian ENI, ICI Suisse SA, Laturno Management SA, and others. Here you can see the main routes of coal from LPR and TPR to external markets. LPR and TPR supply to Russia about 1 million tons of coals on a monthly basis, which are subsequently re-exported. In addition, here is also a land channel for delivery by rail through Russia and Belarus. In the delivery documents, goods from the LPR and TPR, as well as from the annexed Crimea, are specified as made in Russia. Accordingly, coals purchased by Polish and Romanian companies were initially claimed as Russian. That makes it fraud. A similar scheme can be observed in the sale of grain from annexed Crimea. So, in Kerch Strait, at the anchorage of the port of Caucasus, there is a whole handling terminal which takes grain from the small ships that brings it from the nearby occupied Crimean ports. Then, large modern Panamax type and bigger bulk carriers enter these waters. A bulk carrier approaches one of the sea grain elevators. Grain is loaded onto it. It leads to the port of Europe and the Middle East, for example, Lebanon, Syria, and others. Such sea transshipment schemes are becoming extremely popular in Russia for avoiding sanctions. For example, on December 30, 2017, Reuters agency reported that Russian ships had been transshipping oil to North Korea ships at least three times in recent months. Such violation UN sanctions. Sea transportation analysis revealed that since 2014, companies were established that specialize in smuggling goods from the ports of the occupied Crimea as well as from the occupation territory of Abkhazia. And in the eve of the new year, our Navy and Border Guard ships stopped and arrested the ship, commercial ship Whisper, that comes from Ochimchira with the cargo of smuggling cigarettes from Jordan region that were transported via military command and military vessels of Russian Federation in Tartus to Novorossiysk and then to Ochimchira to one of the European port of European Union. Russian delegation during visit to Syria proposed to create a sea hub in the Crimea in order to activate economic cooperation between the two countries, the Russian Federation and Syria. And according to the head of Agricultural Chamber of Syria, there are already several ships operating as shuttles. However, in his opinion, they are clearly not enough to meet the heads of needs of Russian-Syrian economic cooperation. A classic example of such an organized group of shuttles are the structures that are part of family business of Syrian entrepreneurs who become from the suburbs of Tartus. We call it so-called Johar Hassan group. A member of this family live in Syria, Romania, and United Kingdom. Their branches operated in UK, Romania, and Beirut. Their partners, Andala Alouf, the chairman of the board of Egyptian company Misr Unimarine, and Alouf Safety Syria from Tartus, using the acquittance of the Ministry of Transport of Syria, received security certificates which were used for the illegal transportation of Syrian migrants to Turkey and Europe. At the same time, taking into account the counterintelligence level in Tartus, voyages from this port and taking orders for the delivery of goods in the territory of Crimean Peninsula, as well as removing goods from the Crimean ports, are very much likely required to contact the Special Service of Syria or having permissions of the higher military and political leadership of Damascus and the Special Service of Russia Federation. Thus, the occupation authorities carried out export and import using the services or companies specializing in smuggling. Here you can see cases only in Johar affiliated ships being caught on smuggling by border guards of different states in the Mediterranean Sea region. The development of logistic schemes for bypassing the sanctions with forged accompanying documents and false destination ports and disabling the transponders and complicate monitoring of cargo transported in the Black Sea waters and create security risk in the region. Substitution of documents confirming origin of goods, which requires involvement of administration of ports of Russia Federation and territories occupied by it, as well as representatives of its customs agencies and border authorities, directly evidences the implication of the Russia Federation authorities in management of smuggling. So, if the model created locally in the Black Sea region succeeds, it can be applied globally to develop economic and political mechanisms for supporting foreign regimes under pressure of sanctions, for example, North Korea. Thank you for your attention.